There was a point where The Boys didn't just feel like another edgy superhero show, it felt controlled. Like every bit of chaos had a purpose behind it. It wasn't random shock value, it was structured madness. The show built its reputation on sharp, uncomfortable satire, unpredictable twists, and characters who felt genuinely broken in believable ways. Even when things got absolutely insane, and they did, it still felt like there was a line connecting the moment back to character motivation. Nobody just did things because the plot said so. They did things because they were angry, traumatized, desperate, or corrupted, and that distinction mattered. That's why the current direction feels off. Let's talk about Kimiko. Kimiko Miyashiro has always been one of the most emotionally grounded characters in the entire series. Her arc wasn't about being powerful, it was about what power did to her. She was turned into a weapon, stripped of her voice, her identity, her autonomy, and then slowly rebuilt herself piece by piece. And that rebuild wasn't clean, it wasn't linear, it was messy as hell. She struggled with violence, with guilt, with the terrifying realization that part of her liked what she was capable of doing. But over time, she started choosing something else, not perfection, just humanity. That's why the recent shift feels so jarring. Suddenly giving Kimiko abilities that echo Soldier Boy-level energy manipulation or explosive force output doesn't feel like evolution. It feels like escalation for the sake of escalation. Like the writers went, "We need her to do more now," instead of, "This is what her journey naturally becomes." And the problem isn't just that she's stronger, it's that there's no emotional price tag attached to it that matches how huge this is. This is a woman who spent seasons trying to escape being a weapon, and now she's just upgraded into a different kind of weapon with barely any buildup. No real psychological breakdown, no slow corruption arc, no clear consequence. Just, boom, new powers, deal with it. And honestly, it risks turning her into a plot tool instead of a person. Because if a character can be rewritten that drastically whenever the story needs a new answer, then what are we even watching anymore? Now, Frenchie, this one is worse in a different way. Frenchie has been one of the emotional cores of The Boys since the beginning. He's chaotic, he's guilty, he's self-destructive, but he's also deeply human in a way most characters in this universe aren't allowed to be. And his relationship with Kimiko is one of the only times the show slows down enough to let something feel real. That connection carried weight because it was earned over time, not rushed, not forced. Just two damaged people trying and sometimes failing to love each other without blowing everything up. So his death should have hit like a fucking truck. It should have been ugly, intimate, painful. The kind of moment where the show actually forces you to sit in silence afterward. Instead, it happens off-screen. And that's where the decision really falls apart. Because an off-screen death in a show like this doesn't just remove the violence, it removes the emotional experience of it. There's no final conversation, no panic, no goodbye, no closure, just exposition telling us, yeah, he's gone now. That's not tragedy, that's distance. And for a character who mattered this much emotionally, that distance feels like a cop-out. Like the show didn't want to deal with the weight of actually showing it. And when you put these two things together, Kimiko's sudden power shift and Frenchie's off-screen exit, you start to see a pattern. The storytelling feels less patient, less grounded, more interested in moving pieces around than sitting with what those pieces actually mean. It's starting to feel like the show is prioritizing what's shocking next over what does this do to the characters we've spent years with. And that's dangerous territory, because The Boys used to earn its biggest moments. The gore, the twists, the brutality, it all worked because it came from choices, real choices, messy, human, sometimes fucked up choices. When you lose that grounding, even the most extreme moments start to feel weirdly hollow, like spectacle without weight. And yeah, the show still has incredible actors. It still has big ideas. It still knows how to shock you. But shock isn't the same thing as impact. And that's the difference that's starting to matter now. Because as we move toward the final season, the real concern isn't whether The Boys can still go big, it's whether it can still go deep. Because endings don't land because they're loud. They land because they feel inevitable, because they feel earned, because the story actually did the work to make you believe this is where these people were always headed. Right now, it doesn't fully feel like that. The Boys is still one of the boldest superhero shows ever made, no question. But bold doesn't automatically mean satisfying. And if the writers want the ending to actually hit the way it should, they need to stop treating characters like chess pieces for shock value and start treating them like people again. Because without that, all the blood, all the chaos, all the insanity is just noise.